Do you know what I like about this new digital world? It's that everyone in it sounds so benign and helpful. Here's a fellow called Neil Parmenter, who until recently was chairman of the Canadian Bankers Association. I've never heard of that, but I assume it's an association of bankers from Canada. And here he is talking about the need for digital ID. The EU is very big on digital ID. If it sounds a bit scary, don't worry. They've put some soothing, new agey music under Mr. Parmeter's words, so it sounds like you're getting a seaweed exfoliation.
Digital ID. All of us are living in a digital world, but we're tethered to an analog model of how we identify ourselves, memorizing countless online passwords, carrying government-issued licenses, plastic cards, and more. Digital ID.
Gosh, yes, now you mention it. It's such a nuisance having to carry around all these plastic cards. Not like the old days in the Weimar Republic when you could just tootle around with wheelbarrows of cash. I think my sciatica's due to walking around with a platinum MasterCard all day long. Have you got anything to cure that?
Canada's banks are perfectly situated to help lead the creation of a federated digital ID system between government and the private sector. The World Economic Forum agrees that banks and financial institutions should lead the path forward for digital ID. Banks are
so the World Economic Forum, all the Davos jet set with the private planes, agree that banks should lead the path forward to digital ID. Meanwhile, back in the real world, a hacker with close ties to intelligence agencies hacked into Give, Send, Go and then passed on the names of all the donors to those Canadian truckers. Donors from Canada, Britain, all over the Commonwealth, America, Europe, and then Justin Trudeau's Ministry of Pain in turn passed the names along to the banks, and the banks froze all those people's accounts. In the old days, it was immensely time-consuming and labour-intensive for Big Brother to watch you. But with digital ID, we're all signed up for the digital panopticon from birth. What could go wrong? Well, it's all gone wrong for Tom Marazzo. He's a former soldier of the Queen, but that counts for naught when they want to seize your bank accounts. Tom, you've been very involved in the Freedom Convoy in Ottawa. They have decided, the Canadian state, to turn it into the maple equivalent of January the 6th and punish you guys so that nobody ever tries anything like this again. How's it going for you? How are you holding up?
Yeah, well, that's absolutely true. There are no warrants for my arrest. There are no charges. I haven't been convicted of anything. And I was, a volunteer in a convoy of freedom that I absolutely believed in, and yet all of my bank accounts with my name on it have been frozen. My credit cards have been canceled. My spouse's credit rating has been attacked, and they've dropped her score 109 points. And they've even sent warnings to my ex-wife about her assets. They've left her alone, but the very fact that, anybody with the same last name as me is being punished without any form of due process is deeply disturbing.
Now, so with your ex-wife, I take it that this was someone like whoever she banks with, the Royal Bank of Canada or the Bank of Montreal or whoever it is, just wrote to her and said, we're keeping an eye on you, basically.
Yeah, that's basically it. Like we're on great terms because we co-parent a child together with a very extensive medical background in history. And her financial institution that she deals with, they notified her and said, this potentially is going to be coming. We're looking at your assets, basically. They did notify her after and say, okay, we're going to leave you alone. But all of my stuff to this point in time are still frozen. I check every hour, and my assets are still frozen. And
how do you get them un?
I looked on my bank. It said, give us a call. It said, give us a call at this number, and then you can't get through. And I have an appointment apparently on the 3rd of March to talk to somebody at Bank of Montreal. That's who I dealt with. And, as soon as my accounts are unfrozen, I'll be closing all of my accounts with Bank of Montreal and withdrawing my money, and I'll never do business with them again, because they were deputized by law enforcement because law enforcement had no legal mechanism to do it. So the banks went in and did it themselves without any due process. And the banks have been given immunity from the government of Canada.
Yeah, so you cannot. It's not as if there's a judge who has ordered the bank to freeze your accounts. It's basically the bank is doing that. They're taking their orders direct from Justin Trudeau, basically, and you cannot sue. You've got an appointment on March the 3rd. You're presumably going to be scavenging in garbage cans for dog food and whatever to eat until March the 3rd, and you can't then sue the Bank of Montreal or whoever it is.
It's true. I'm a few steps away from scavenging for food, but the really disturbing part is, and I mentioned, my child's extensive health situation. The credit card that I used to buy his much needed medication was canceled, and my ex-wife found that out when the guy came to deliver the medication from the pharmacy last night. And so, cash is king right now.
Yeah. And they're prepared. They're basically prepared to make your sick kids sicker in order to teach you the lesson of what happens when you disagree with the government.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is there's no due process here at all. No means to defend myself. It's disgusting. And if people didn't wake up to the mandate surrounding COVID, my hope is that, hey, now when they can attack your financial assets without any due process, maybe people will start actually waking up in this country and paying attention to at least that part of it. Because the Emergency Act that they declared, or the War Measures Act, was really, in my opinion, was just a cover story to bring in this the government's ability to attack your financial assets under the cover of a War Measures Act. And they fully intend, and they brag about it on the media, that they want to keep this power.
Yeah. Yeah, they're absolutely serious about that. The guys on the street, these rogue coppers on the street beating the crap out of little old ladies, is in some ways a big distraction. The real power grab here, which the Deputy Prime Minister, Chrystia Freeland, says she wants to keep for good, is the power of the government just to reach in, take your money, so you can't feed your sick kid, you can't go to the grocery store and buy a loaf of bread, and that's the power they want to keep permanently. This is absolutely disgraceful power grab, and I don't have any idea why the so-called loyal opposition in Ottawa are being so loyal and so silent about this, or why other prime ministers around the Commonwealth have not actually denounced the behaviour. This is absolutely terrible stuff. Thank you very much, Tom. Good luck to you. We're going to watch what happens to you, and we're going to stay on this story.